Beloved soul, pause and breathe, because what is happening right now is not ordinary. You are drawn here by a pull stronger than curiosity, stronger than coincidence, stronger than anything the natural mind can explain. Heaven has opened a windows over your life, and the Spirit of God has whispered your name into this moment. That stirring inside you, that trembling mix of anticipation and holy pressure, is not fear. It is revelation. It is the signal that something long hidden is about to break into the open. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth." And chosen one, it is springing forth now over your destiny, over your purpose, over your peace. You've been sensing it for days, maybe even weeks. That inner shift, that awareness that the atmosphere around you feels charged and heavier with meaning. You may not have known what it meant, but your spirit did. The Lord has been preparing you for this very moment because there is something He can't keep from you any longer. Heaven has reached a point where silence is no longer an option. What's coming is too important, too urgent, too deeply tied to your divine purpose and your next level of personal transformation. So let your heart be still. Let every distraction fall away. This is God speaking to you in the way only He can. Chosen one, something has been shifting in the unseen. You've felt it in the way your thoughts have been heavier than usual, in the way your emotions have felt stretched, in the way your nights have carried a strange sense of awakening. This is not random. This is not an emotional phase. This is a spiritual alert. Heaven has been leaning close, watching you, guiding you, testing the roots of your faith, strengthening the foundation beneath your calling. And now, the curtain is lifting. God is revealing what was concealed, unfolding what has been building behind closed doors. You are stepping into a divine alignment that will affect every area of your life. Your peace, your relationships, your financial stability, your inner healing, your destiny elevation. Chosen one, listen closely, because what is unfolding around you has been building for far longer than you realize. The pressure in your spirit, the restlessness in your thoughts, the sudden waves of emotion that come out of nowhere. None of this is chaos. Heaven has been moving pieces into place like a master strategist preparing a long-awaited revelation. God has reached the point where He can no longer keep this secret from you because your spirit is ready, your character is ready, and your next season is ready. You've been sensing the shift even when you couldn't explain it. You felt the wind of change brushing against your soul, and though you tried to push it aside, it kept returning because divine alignment cannot be ignored. The Father is bringing you into a moment of clarity, a moment where the fog lifts and the purpose becomes visible. You've walked through a season that stretched you in every direction. Some days you felt strong, other days you wondered if you were falling apart. Yet even in the silence, God was building you. He was shaping your inner strength, sharpening your discernment, elevating your wisdom, and preparing your heart for a divine shift that demands maturity, stability, and spiritual grounding. You went through heartbreak not because you were unworthy, but because God needed to expose what could not go with you. You endured financial strain not because you were forgotten, but because He was training you to trust provision that flows from heaven, not from earthly systems. You felt isolated because He was separating you from noise, distractions, and voices that would drown out His instruction. And now, chosen one, the moment has come. The Lord is revealing what He could not reveal earlier. Your spirit is waking up to the truth that something has been decided about you in the courts of heaven. Jeremiah 29:11 has been spoken over your life again and again, not as a comforting verse, but as a decree. For I know the plans I have for you. Plans for increase, plans for stability, plans for abundance, plans for divine purpose that cannot be hindered by any weapon formed against you. Isaiah 54:17 stands as your shield. You are stepping into a shift, that will break the limitations that have held you down for years. If you've been waking up between 2 and 4 a.m., that wasn't insomnia. That was the Holy Spirit whispering instruction. When the world is quiet, heaven speaks loudest. You've been stirred awake because the Father has been downloading strategies into your subconscious. You've been receiving direction in dreams that felt too vivid to be random. Some of you have seen numbers like 78 or 777 flashing in strange moments. Some of you have felt the tug to let go of old friendships that suddenly drained your peace. Some of you have sensed the shift in your emotional climate. All of these signs are heaven's way of saying, prepare, align, pay attention. The move is already in progress. Look back over the past few months. Doors that once opened easily began to close. People who once clung to you suddenly drifted away. Opportunities that once excited you now feel empty. That's because the Lord has already lifted your spirit out of the atmosphere you've been living in. When God is elevating your destiny, the old environment loses its grip. The soil that once nourished you becomes too small for your growing roots. You outgrow rooms, relationships, mindsets, and habits long before you outgrow the actual space. And suddenly, everything familiar starts feeling foreign because heaven has already moved you ahead. Think of Joseph. He was thrown into a pit, betrayed by family, forgotten by people he helped, and imprisoned for something he didn't do. But none of that was punishment. It was preparation. Every delay pushed him closer to the moment where he would be, elevated from prison to palace in a single day. Genesis 41:14 shows us God's sudden moves. Joseph didn't see it coming. He thought his life was stuck, but heaven was orchestrating a breakthrough that no man could block. Chosen one, that same God is moving for you. What feels like stagnation is divine buildup. What feels like delay is a setup. What feels like silence is strategy. Heaven moves quietly until the moment it moves suddenly. And beloved, let me speak to the fear you've been wrestling with. The tight finances, the unexpected bills, the moments you wondered if you'd make it through this season. These were not signs of defeat. These were part of the stretching that God uses to grow your faith. Philippians 4:19 promises, "My God will supply all your need according to his riches in glory." Not according to your income, not according to your background, according to his riches. The economy of heaven operates on a different system, and he is preparing you to walk in a wealth mindset rooted in abundance, not anxiety. The financial stability you've been praying for isn't a dream. It's a promise already signed in the Spirit. But hear this clearly. Elevation comes with refinement. You've noticed old emotions rising to the surface. Wounds you thought were healed resurfacing. Temptations you thought you conquered testing you again. This isn't regression. This is God removing the last fragments of what cannot enter your next season. Before every breakthrough, God purifies. Before every promotion, he prunes. Before every elevation, he shifts the foundation. This is why everything around you has felt unsettled. What you call chaos, heaven calls construction. You're not collapsing. You're being rebuilt. And chosen one, there is another layer to this revelation. Heaven has been discussing your name. The angels assigned to your life have been preparing for a major release. You've been sensing warfare because the enemy knows what's unfolding. The pressure increased because your blessing is close. The attacks rose because your promotion is near. The spiritual weight you've been carrying isn't punishment. It's proof. Proof that the heavens have already approved what is coming. Proof that your destiny is shifting into position. Proof that the enemy sees the light rising on your life and cannot stop what God has decided. Some of you have been seeing visions of new environments, new relationships, new opportunities. Some of you have been sensing that the next chapter of your life will look nothing like the one you're leaving behind. And you're right. God has been realigning your steps with precision. Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord." Your steps have been ordered even when you didn't know where you were going. God has been placing you strategically, piece by piece, into the perfect position to receive what He has been preparing in the unseen. And right here, at this turning point where the revelation becomes heavier, let me speak softly to your spirit. If you feel a pool of gratitude rising, some chosen ones express that through super thanks, not as a transaction, but as a seed into the breakthrough being activated in them. If your heart feels led, let it be an act of faith, a quiet offering that aligns you with what heaven is releasing, a sign that you are stepping into agreement with God's divine movement over your life. Now breathe again. Feel the shift inside your chest. That's confirmation. The Lord is uncovering something hidden, something He would not have revealed until you were spiritually mature enough to carry it. You're standing on the edge of a divine unveiling. There is something God has written about you that is being unlocked. You've been asking for clarity, you've been pleading for direction, and heaven has heard every whisper. Heaven has collected every tool. Psalm 56:8 reminds you that God stores your tears in a bottle. Nothing you've endured has been wasted. You've questioned why certain people betrayed you, why certain connections dissolved, why certain doors slammed shut. But if you could see what heaven saw, you'd thank God for every closed door. You'd praise Him for every person removed. You'd rejoice over every opportunity that slipped away. Because these weren't losses. They were protections, hidden shields, prevented disasters. God saw what you couldn't, and He intervened before you even knew you needed rescue. Beloved, God is preparing to reveal something that will redefine your identity and elevate your destiny. He has hidden this truth from you not to punish you, but to protect you. Some revelations cannot be given too early because they require strength, maturity, and emotional grounding. You're ready now. You've passed tests silently. You've overcome storms privately. You've grown through seasons only God witnessed, and heaven is rewarding what was built in secret. This revelation will shift how you see your calling. It will shift how you see your purpose. It will awaken courage where fear once lived. It will awaken confidence where insecurity once took root. It will awaken divine authority where you once felt powerless. You are stepping into the fullness of what God designed you to carry. Chosen one, let your spirit stay open, because what God is unfolding next goes deeper than anything you've walked through so far. You've been sensing movement in the spiritual atmosphere, a kind of inner awakening that you couldn't fully articulate. This is because heaven has been releasing new instructions, new assignments, and new opportunities into your path. Your life is being rearranged, not by chance, but by divine architecture. The Father has been reshaping the blueprint of your destiny, adjusting the pathways, redirecting connections, and refining desires so your heart aligns perfectly with what He is about to release. You've stepped into a zone where your discernment is being heightened. Your sensitivity to spiritual shifts is increasing. Your capacity to recognize signs, patterns, and divine timing is expanding. This is not accidental. It is intentional formation. You've noticed how your patience has been tested in ways you didn't expect, how you've had to wait longer than you wanted, trust deeper than you planned, and surrender what you once held tightly. But this waiting was not punishment. It was calibration. The Lord was aligning your inner world with the magnitude of what He is preparing. He didn't want you to enter a divine opportunity with an unsettled heart. He didn't want your next blessing to land on shaky faith. So He strengthened you. He stretched you. He taught you to stand firm when nothing made sense, because the season you are entering requires the kind of strength that only comes from spiritual pressure, the kind that builds endurance, clarity, and bold confidence. Look at how your thinking has shifted. You no longer desire what once distracted you. You no longer chase what once drained you. You no longer cling to what once felt familiar, but no longer feels aligned. This is spiritual maturity. This is the refining of your calling. The old version of you couldn't carry the mantle that is about to be placed on your life. But now, after everything you've endured, Everything you've surrendered, everything you've risen above, you are ready to step into territories you once thought unreachable. Psalm 32:8 has been positioning your steps. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. Heaven has been teaching you even in silence. There are moments you felt unseen, unheard, misunderstood, even overlooked. But while people were overlooking you, God was observing you. While others failed to appreciate your value, heaven was taking inventory of your wounds and your wins. Your silent victories, your private battles, your midnight prayers, none of them disappeared into emptiness. They became spiritual seeds planted in the soil of destiny. And now, the harvest is nearing. You are on the threshold of a season where the fruit of your resilience begins to surface in unexpected ways. You will see favor where there was rejection. You will see clarity where there was confusion. You will see open doors where there were only walls. And chosen one, hear this clearly. What is coming is bigger than your preparation. You've been trained by trials, shaped by storms, and purified through pressure. But the blessing God is preparing surpasses what you think you're ready for. This is why your spirit feels stretched. This is why your atmosphere feels heavier. This is why your discernment feels sharper. You're growing into the size of your assignment. You're expanding into the purpose heaven has already approved. And this expansion requires you to release the fear that has tried to cling to your identity. It requires you to embrace the authority God has been cultivating in you through each challenge. There is a reason your emotions have been unpredictable lately. A reason your spirit has been sensitive to even the smallest shifts. You are transitioning out of an old season that tried to limit you and stepping into a realm where spiritual clarity becomes your guide. What once confused you will begin to make sense. What once felt heavy will begin to feel purposeful. You are stepping into revelation, and revelation always requires surrender. The deeper God pulls you, the more layers He removes. The more wisdom He deposits, the more maturity He demands. This is divine transformation unfolding in real time. Chosen one, pay attention to the way certain doors have been cracking open, the opportunities arriving with subtle signs, the unexpected connections that feel strangely purposeful. God has been weaving divine threads into your narrative. When you look back months from now, you will see how each detail was strategic. How the small decisions led to major shifts, how the closed doors saved you, how the open ones lifted you. Nothing in your story has been wasted. Every misstep became a lesson. Every detour became direction. Every delay became development. This is how God builds destiny, quietly, intentionally, and with perfect timing. Now breathe again and let your soul settle into this truth. God has been preparing you for elevation in arenas you haven't even stepped into yet. You are being positioned for influence, not for attention, but for purpose. Someone needs your voice. Someone needs your presence. Someone needs your wisdom. There are people whose lives will shift because of what God is placing inside you. You're not stepping into a small assignment. You are stepping into a calling that touches the lives of others in ways you cannot yet imagine. There is a refinement happening in your relationships as well. You've noticed that certain people no longer speak the language of your spirit, not because they're bad, but because your calling has outgrown conversations rooted in limitation. You're discovering the difference between companionship and alignment, between familiarity and destiny, between closeness and calling. And God is not allowing anyone who diminishes your spiritual growth to remain in the center of your life. You're being surrounded by clarity, not confusion, by divine partners, not draining ones, by purpose-driven connections, not comfort-driven attachments. You are being reintroduced to yourself, the stronger version, the wiser version, the healed version. The version heaven has been waiting to unveil, the version capable of handling the favor, responsibility, and abundance God is preparing to pour over you. And this unveiling will not be subtle. It will not be hidden. It will be seen. Psalm 23:5 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." That means your breakthrough will be visible. Your elevation will be undeniable. Your transformation will speak for itself. Listen closely, chosen one. Heaven has been tracking your growth with precision. Each moment where you chose peace over anger. Each moment where you chose forgiveness over revenge. Each moment where you chose faith over fear. These decisions weren't random, they were qualifiers. Spiritual milestones proving that you're ready for deeper purpose, greater responsibility, and higher calling. You've passed tests you didn't know you were taking. You've overcome storms that would have broken others. You've carried loads heavier than your heart admitted. And now, heaven is saying, you are ready. Chosen one, stay with this unfolding, because the deeper we go, the more the layers of your destiny begin to reveal themselves. There is a stirring happening in places you cannot see, a movement in the unseen realm that has been gathering momentum with every step of obedience you've taken. Heaven has been coordinating circumstances in a way that aligns perfectly with the purpose God planted in you long before you understood your calling. You've been walking through corridors of transition without fully recognizing that each hallway has been intentionally crafted to usher you into a higher dimension of spiritual authority. The pressure, the silence, the waiting, these were not random experiences. They were the chisels used to carve out the strength you now carry. They were the refining fires, shaping a vessel capable of holding revelation, influence, and divine insight. You've noticed that your intuition has sharpened. You're sensing things before they happen, perceiving shifts before they manifest, feeling heaviness or peace in places that once felt neutral. This spiritual sensitivity is not a coincidence. It is evidence that the Holy Spirit has been awakening dormant gifts inside you. Gifts you didn't even know you had. Gifts that were waiting for the maturity you've now reached. God is unlocking spiritual perception so you can navigate the next season with clarity instead of confusion. You will recognize opportunities that others overlook. You will discern dangers before they arrive. You will identify divine timing with a precision that surprises even you. Because the Father is not just elevating your circumstances, He is elevating your discernment, your awareness, your spiritual intelligence. And look at the way your desires have shifted. You no longer crave the attention you once thought you needed. You no longer chase validation from places that never honored you. You no longer try to fit into spaces that never supported your growth. This is because your identity is being rerouted. Your worth is being recalibrated. You are learning to see yourself the way heaven sees you. Strong, chosen, anointed, intentionally crafted for impact. This inner transformation is preparing you for roles and responsibilities far beyond what you imagined. There is territory God intends for you to occupy. Territory in influence, territory in wisdom, territory in purpose, and territory in spiritual authority. Every shift happening inside you is equipping you to walk into these places with confidence, not hesitation. Chosen one, pay attention to the new clarity in your thoughts. The ideas that have been coming to you aren't random, they are divine sparks. Heaven has been igniting creativity in your spirit, stirring visions, assignments, and possibilities that reflect your next chapter. God is expanding your capacity to think differently, to dream bigger, to operate with strategies that align with your divine purpose. What felt impossible in past seasons now feels attainable because your faith has matured. Your perspective has widened. Your spirit has grown stronger, and where you once second-guessed yourself, you now sense the nudge of heaven reminding you that you are capable, prepared, and chosen for such a time as this. You've also noticed a change in the people who cross your path. Conversations that once felt small now feel shallow. Interactions that once felt normal now feel misaligned. This is because your soul is ascending, and anything that cannot meet you at this new level begins to fall away on its own. God is curating your connections with care. He is removing voices that blur your purpose and guiding voices that sharpen your vision. You will meet people who uplift you, challenge you, understand you, and speak life into your calling. People who resonate with where God is taking you, not with where you've been. You are entering a season where divine alignment will unfold in your relationships in ways that feel supernatural. And let me speak gently to the inner work God has been doing in your heart. There are wounds you didn't know were still there. Memories you didn't realize still carried weight. Emotional patterns you thought you outgrew carried weight. Emotional patterns you thought you outgrew but resurfaced during quiet moments. These moments weren't setbacks. They were revelations. God wasn't exposing pain to shame you. He was revealing it to heal you. You are being lifted to a level where unresolved wounds cannot follow. You are being called into emotional clarity, spiritual strength, and inner peace that allow your purpose to shine without interference. The healing you are experiencing is not surface level. It is deep restoration, the kind that frees you to walk without the heaviness you've carried for years. Chosen one, let your heart embrace this truth. Your capacity for faith has expanded. You no longer ask small. You no longer fear big. You no longer hesitate when God whispers. You are stepping into a spiritual maturity where obedience becomes instinct, not struggle. Where surrender becomes strength, not sacrifice. Where trust becomes natural, not forced. And this maturity is what heaven has been waiting for. Because the revelation God is preparing to unfold requires a heart that listens, a vatu, spirit that discerns, and a soul that stands firm even when the path ahead feels unfamiliar. And right here, as this revelation deepens into the marrow of your spirit, I want to speak this softly. If gratitude is rising in you, some choose to acknowledge that through a super thanks, not as obligation, not as transaction, but as a quiet offering of faith, a recognition that something divine is being stirred within them. If your spirit feels led, let it be a reflection of alignment, a whisper of agreement with what God is activating in your life. Now pay close attention to this next shift. You've been experiencing moments where your dreams feel strangely vivid, filled with symbols, places, or faces you don't fully understand. These dreams are not random. They are spiritual messages. Heaven communicates through imagery when the language of the natural world cannot capture what your heart needs to know. Some dreams show where you are going. Some reveal what you must release. Some highlight the relationships that will anchor your next chapter. Some expose the hidden obstacles that God wants to remove before they hinder your path. You're being taught to read the language of your own spirit, to interpret the whispers that God weaves into your subconscious. You've also begun noticing details you once ignored. A repeated word, a sudden shift in atmosphere, a moment of stillness that feels significant. These are signs of awakening, signs of alignment, signs that your spiritual vision is increasing. God has been opening your ears to hear what others overlook, opening your eyes to see what others dismiss, opening your spirit to understand what others misunderstand. This is all preparation for opportunities that will require discernment, preparation for blessings that will require wisdom, preparation for influence that will require clarity. And chosen one, listen carefully. You are stepping into a season where you will begin to recognize divine patterns in your own story, patterns that show God has been guiding you all along. The friendships that ended prepared you for healthier connections. The jobs that closed positioned you for purpose-based assignments. The heartbreaks that hurt you prepared you to love without losing yourself. The delays that frustrated you positioned you for perfect timing. Nothing in your life has been wasted. Everything is converging into an extraordinary alignment orchestrated by heaven. Chosen one, Keep your heart open, because what God is unveiling next reaches into the deepest layers of your assignment. You've stepped into a spiritual frequency where nothing feels accidental, where each day carries a subtle shift in atmosphere, and where even ordinary moments feel charged with meaning. This is because heaven has moved you into a stage of preparation unlike anything you've experienced before. You're not just being guided, you're being positioned. You're not just being strengthened, you're being commissioned. You're not just waiting, you're being sculpted into someone who can carry weight, wisdom, and revelation without collapsing under the magnitude of it. You have felt this in the way your solitude has shifted. What once felt like loneliness now feels like training. The silence around you isn't empty, it's sacred. God has been teaching you to hear Him without noise. He has been sharpening your spiritual hearing so that when He whispers, you recognize His voice instantly. He has been detoxing your environment of unnecessary chatter so your discernment becomes sharper, your thoughts become clearer, and your decisions become rooted in divine wisdom instead of emotional impulse. This silence is not punishment. It is consecration. It is the environment where prophets are formed, where leaders are shaped, where destiny is refined. And look at how your courage has been developing. You're no longer paralyzed by the fears that once controlled you. You're no longer intimidated by challenges that once overwhelmed you. You're no longer running from the responsibilities connected to your calling. You are being trained to walk boldly, even when the path is unfamiliar. You are being groomed to take steps that require faith, not certainty. You are learning to move forward without needing the approval or understanding of others. This courage is not self-made. It is God-given. It is the fruit of every prayer you whispered through tears, every moment you felt weak but still stood, every battle you thought would break you but instead built you. Chosen one, I want you to pay attention to the internal clarity rising within you. God has been removing mental fog. He has been silencing doubts that once tormented your thoughts. He has been cutting away confusion that clouded your decisions. This clarity is not random. It is divine alignment happening inside you. You're beginning to understand which spaces drain your spirit and which ones feed your purpose. You're recognizing when God is nudging you forward and when He's telling you to stay still. You're learning the difference between opportunities sent by heaven and distractions disguised as blessings. This clarity will guide you through doors you once feared to open. There is also a transformation happening in your sense of identity. You've stopped shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You've stopped apologizing for your growth. You've stopped dimming your light to avoid criticism. God is restoring your confidence. Not arrogance, but holy confidence rooted in truth. You are starting to see the strength in your own voice. You are beginning to understand the authority in your presence. You are awakening to the reality that your existence carries purpose, weight, and impact. Heaven has always seen you this way. Now you are beginning to see it too. Chosen one, notice the shift in how you respond to emotional pressure. Where you once reacted impulsively, you now respond with wisdom. Where you once took things personally, you now see through spiritual lenses. Where you once felt wounded, you now feel awakened. This emotional maturity is not accidental. It is part of the preparation process. God is shaping your heart to handle the relationships, responsibilities, and revelations connected to your next chapter. Your emotional sensitivity is being upgraded to emotional stability. Your inner battles are being replaced with inner peace. Your reactions are transforming into discerned responses guided by the Holy Spirit. This is the kind of maturity required for people who carry influence. And listen to this carefully. You have been given dreams that refuse to leave you alone. Visions that return at the most unexpected times. Ideas that rise in your soul and feel too big to come from your own imagination. These are divine deposits, seeds of destiny planted in your spirit. They are reminders of the greatness embedded within you. They are echoes of the purpose you were born to fulfill. You are beginning to understand that your dreams aren't fantasies. They are previews. They are blueprints from heaven. And the fact that they persist means God intends to bring them into manifestation. Chosen one, there is a realm of timing you are entering now. You will begin to notice that things move quickly once you align spiritually. What took months to shift will begin to change in days. What felt stagnant will suddenly accelerate. What was delayed will suddenly be released. Heaven moves gently during preparation, but swiftly during activation. You are approaching activation. You will feel it in the small details, a message that arrives at the perfect moment, an idea that solves a long-standing problem, a connection that feels heaven-sent. These moments are divine timestamps marking your transition. Now breathe again, because there is another dimension God is preparing to reveal. You've begun noticing how your priorities are shifting. You no longer invest energy into arguments without purpose. You no longer involve yourself in conflicts that steal your peace. You've stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. This is not detachment. It is elevation. You are being separated from anything that interrupts your spiritual rhythm. You are being pruned away from environments that cannot handle the weight of your calling. Your peace has become precious. Your time has become valuable. Your boundaries have become sacred. This shift is a sign that you are preparing for a level of blessing that requires protection. You're also becoming more aware of your influence. People have started coming to you for guidance without you seeking it. They sense the wisdom growing inside you. They feel the peace you carry. They notice the strength in your resilience. This influence is not accidental. It is part of your assignment. You are being prepared to carry light in places where others feel lost. You are being shaped to speak truth in moments where others feel confused. You are being crafted to bring healing into spaces where others feel wounded. Your life is becoming a vessel through which God demonstrates clarity, strength, compassion, and spiritual authority. And chosen one, look closely at the unexpected changes happening around you. Plans that once made sense now feel irrelevant. Goals you once pursued now feel too small. Commitments you once held tightly now feel misaligned. These internal shifts are signals. Signals that heaven is redirecting you towards something greater, something deeper, something undeniably connected to your divine purpose. This redirection may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. God does not shift your desires without preparing something more fulfilling on the other side of your surrender. There is also a subtle awakening happening in your physical environment. You can feel when a space no longer carries peace. You can sense when a conversation drains your spirit. You can detect when a person's intentions don't match their words. This intuition is being sharpened because you are stepping into a chapter where discernment will protect you more than strength, where clarity will guide you more effectively than planning, where sensitivity to the spirit will keep you aligned with heaven's timing. Chosen one, stay present in this moment, because what God is unfolding next reaches into the deeper architecture of your spiritual transformation. You've been sensing a shift not only in your emotions, but in the very atmosphere surrounding your life. The places where you once felt hesitancy now feel like stepping stones. The choices that once required overthinking now seem guided by an inner compass that wasn't there before. This is the evidence of an awakened spirit. God has been anchoring you into a deeper understanding of who you are, what you carry, and why your journey has unfolded the way it has. Nothing about your path has been random. Each chapter, each setback, each unexpected detour has served as a thread in a divine tapestry woven long before you ever took your first breath. There is a shift happening in how you hold your past. You no longer look at old wounds with resentment. You no longer revisit old failures with shame. You no longer see your previous struggles as indicators of weakness. Instead, you're beginning to recognize them as sacred markers, places where God strengthened your endurance, expanded your wisdom, and fortified your inner armor. Your past is no longer a chain around your ankle. It has become the soil where resilience, empathy, and courage were grown. And now, instead of resisting your story, you are reclaiming it. You're understanding that the storms you survived were training grounds for the authority you are stepping into. And pay attention to this. You've begun noticing a new kind of rest rising inside you. Not the rest that comes from escape, distraction, or avoidance, but the deep rest that comes from alignment. A rest born from trusting that God is piecing together details you cannot see. A rest built on the realization that you no longer have to strive for what heaven has already ordained. This rest is a sign that your spirit is syncing with divine timing. It's a sign that you no longer need to rush, force, or manipulate outcomes. You've learned to surrender the pen and let God write the next chapter with hands far steadier than yours. Chosen one, pay attention to how your perspective has shifted concerning your future. You're no longer imagining small possibilities. You're no longer settling for safe plans. You're beginning to entertain visions that stretch your mind and stir your spirit. This is heaven expanding your capacity. God is planting dreams that match the scale of your calling, not the scale of your comfort. The ideas that come to you in quiet moments, the desires that resurface when you pray, the passions that awaken unexpectedly. These are whispers from eternity reminding you of the greatness embedded in your purpose. You are not dreaming randomly. You are dreaming prophetically. And look at the transformation happening in your relationships. You've begun recognizing who feeds your spirit and who drains it. You can now sense the difference between genuine support and subtle envy. You no longer ignore the quiet discomfort you feel around certain people. You no longer silence the inner voice that tells you when a connection has run its course. This is God protecting the environment of your growth. He is pruning relationships that limit you, exposing alliances that lack sincerity, and highlighting the individuals who will walk beside you in purpose rather than convenience. You're entering a season where the quality of your connections will matter more than the quantity. Chosen one, notice the shift in your inner discipline. You've been feeling the urge to organize your space, clean your surroundings, declutter your mind, and bring structure to your days. This is not just productivity, it is preparation. God is aligning your external world with the order He is establishing internally. As your purpose becomes clearer, your environment must match your assignment. You are being prepared for opportunities that require clarity, not chaos. Focus, not fragmentation. Excellence, not exhaustion. This transformation in your habits is a sign that greater responsibility is approaching, and heaven wants you equipped to carry it with grace. There is also a stirring happening in the way you respond to divine nudges. You no longer dismiss the subtle impressions that come during prayer. You no longer ignore the sense of urgency that rises without explanation. You no longer overlook the quiet warnings that shield you from unnecessary battles. Your obedience is becoming sharper. Your willingness to follow God's leading is becoming instinctive, and because of that, heaven is trusting you with deeper revelation. You are being trained to walk by faith in a way that surpasses logic, routine, and tradition. God is preparing you to respond quickly when He calls, because the next season of your life will require movement aligned with heaven's timing, not human understanding. And chosen one, there is another shift happening. A shift in how you view your limitations. You've begun to realize that the weaknesses you once despised are actually areas where God intends to reveal His strength. The doubts you wrestled with are becoming doors to deeper faith. The insecurities you carried are becoming opportunities for God's reassurance. You are learning that your imperfections do not disqualify you. They amplify the power of God working through you. This realization is freeing your spirit. You are no longer trying to perfect yourself before stepping into purpose. You are learning to move with God in every stage of growth, knowing His grace makes you capable of what once seemed impossible. Chosen one, breathe for a moment and feel the shift inside you. Feel how your spirit has grown more resilient. Feel how your heart has grown more patient. Feel how your mind has grown more stable. You're stepping into a chapter where peace becomes your posture, not your pursuit. You're learning to carry peace into environments that once overwhelmed you. You're learning to speak from a place of authority rather than anxiety. You're learning to approach challenges with discernment rather than fear. This is spiritual evolution unfolding through you. And as this awakening deepens, I want to speak a gentle, holy invitation into your spirit. If you feel a resonance rising within you, some chosen ones acknowledge that through a heartfelt super thanks, an offering not of obligation, but of agreement. Agreement with the movement of God in their life. Agreement with the revelation being awakened. Agreement with the purpose unfolding before them. If your heart feels stirred, let it be a quiet symbol of faith, a seed placed into the soil of your own spiritual breakthrough. Now pay attention, because there is another layer God is revealing, the way your resilience is becoming a mantle of influence. You've endured moments that could have broken you, yet you rose stronger. You've walked through valleys that could have silenced you, yet your voice carries more authority now than ever before. This strength is not accidental. It is preparation for the lives you will impact. There are people whose faith will be rekindled because of your testimony. There are hearts that will heal because of your compassion. There are warriors who will rise because of your courage. Your journey has been shaping you into someone who leads without forcing, influences without demanding, and inspires without trying. And chosen one, look at the subtle boldness forming in your decisions. You're no longer waiting for external validation before you move. You're no longer shrinking your calling to fit the comfort of others. You're no longer hesitating to pursue what aligns with your spirit. This courage is heaven's confirmation. God is strengthening your voice, steadying your steps, and preparing your hands to build what He has placed inside you. You are stepping into a phase where purpose becomes undeniable, where opportunities meet readiness, and where divine timing meets bold action. Chosen one, sink deeper into this moment, because the revelation God is bringing forth now reaches into the roots of your identity, your calling, and the very architecture of your destiny. You've been walking through a season where the invisible has felt more real than the visible, where the spiritual has felt heavier than the natural, and where your inner world has been shifting in ways that you couldn't always explain, but could always feel. This is because the Spirit of God has been rearranging the foundations within you, quietly, steadily, deliberately, preparing you for a magnitude of purpose you have only begun to grasp. There has been a quiet awakening happening in the core of your being. You've felt it in the way certain desires no longer satisfy your spirit, in the way old habits feel too small, in the way old versions of yourself no longer fit. This is spiritual evolution. God has been calling you into alignment with the blueprint He designed for you before time began. You are not merely changing, you are being refined, reshaped, recalibrated. Each shift inside you is a sign that heaven is preparing to trust you with something greater. Something that requires clarity of mind, steadiness of heart, and boldness of spirit. Something that requires you to know who you are, not who you were. Chosen one, notice how your spirit has grown more sensitive to the atmosphere around you. You can detect when a place carries peace or when it carries heaviness. You can feel when someone's intentions align with your purpose or clash with it. You can sense when a situation is divinely orchestrated or spiritually dangerous. This sensitivity is not random, it is spiritual training. God is sharpening your discernment so you can navigate your next season with accuracy, not guesswork. He is teaching you to trust the subtle cues of the Holy Spirit, the whispers, the checks in your spirit, the sudden awareness you cannot ignore. These insights will guide you into rooms you were meant to enter and protect you from rooms you were never meant to step into. There is a renewal happening in your inner confidence as well. What once made you shrink no longer intimidates you. What once made you doubt yourself now strengthens your faith. What once made you hesitate now activates boldness inside you. This confidence is not pride, it is identity. You are beginning to see yourself the way God sees you, capable, chosen, equipped, and intentionally crafted for significance. You are discovering authority in your voice. You are discovering strength in your story. You are discovering power in your resilience. God has been restoring the confidence that life tried to strip away, rebuilding it with a foundation rooted not in approval, but in purpose. And notice this, chosen one, your relationship with time has shifted. You no longer feel the need to rush. You no longer panic when things take longer than expected. You no longer view delays as failures. You're beginning to understand that divine timing is precise, strategic, and trustworthy. You've learned to breathe in the waiting. You've learned to grow in the gaps. You've learned to trust that God is moving even when you don't see movement. This shift in your relationship with time is a mark of spiritual maturity. It is a sign that your faith has evolved from fragile hope to unwavering trust. The waiting seasons did not weaken you, they deepened you. And chosen one, there is more. Your creativity has been awakening in ways you didn't anticipate. Ideas flow through your mind like streams of living water. Thoughts come to you with a kind of clarity you haven't felt in years. You're beginning to sense a pull toward building something, creating something, expressing something that reflects the divine spark within you. These ideas are not random. They are seeds of destiny. God is stirring the gifts inside you so you can step into roles that require imagination, innovation, and spiritual insight. Your creativity is a tool for purpose, not coincidence. It is part of the assignment God has prepared for you. Pay attention to the new hunger rising within you. You're craving spiritual depth. You're yearning for clarity. You're seeking wisdom that nourishes your soul instead of information that distracts it. You're longing for conversations that elevate your spirit rather than drain your energy. This hunger is a sign that God is drawing you closer. The more you respond to this hunger, the clearer your path becomes. You are being invited into intimacy with God that will unlock understanding, revelation, and strategy for your next season. Chosen one, there is also a transformation happening in your emotional patterns. The reactions that once controlled you have loosened their grip. The fears that once haunted you have begun to dissolve. The triggers that once caused turmoil now reveal lessons instead of wounds. This emotional strength is not something you gained overnight. It was forged through the seasons when you had nothing but faith to hold on to. It was shaped through the battles where you showed up even when you felt empty. It was built through the moments where you chose to heal rather than hide. You are now carrying emotional resilience that will serve as a foundation for the responsibilities God is preparing to hand you. Listen carefully. Chosen one, your internal narrative is changing. The voice that once criticized you is losing its power. The doubts that once echoed loudly now sound distant. The insecurities that once defined your choices are being replaced by a steady voice of truth. You're learning to speak to yourself with kindness, purpose, and authority. You're learning to declare possibilities instead of limitations. You're learning to command your atmosphere by commanding your thoughts. This shift in your internal narrative is not self-help. It is spiritual warfare won. You've been reclaiming territory in your own mind that the enemy once tried to occupy. And look closely at this next shift. Your endurance has been increasing. You can carry more spiritually, emotionally, and mentally than you could before. You've been stretched, but you did not break. You've been tested, but you did not fold. This capacity is not accidental, it is preparation. The assignment you are stepping into requires endurance, not fragility, persistence, not hesitation. God has been expanding the borders of your stamina so that you can handle the weight of the opportunities He's about to place before you. Chosen one, pay attention to the way you've been releasing things without struggle. Old habits, old fears, old relationships, old expectations. You've been letting them fall away naturally. This is because your spirit has recognized that what once served you cannot sustain you in the next season. You are shedding layers that no longer align with your purpose. You are releasing identities you outgrew. You are letting go of definitions that never belonged to you. This shedding is not loss. It is evolution. Now breathe again, chosen one, because what God is revealing next touches the realm of your influence. People have begun noticing something different about you, even if they can't explain it. They see the steadiness in your walk. They feel the peace in your presence. They hear the authority in your words. This influence is not sought. It is spiritual overflow. It's what happens when someone walks aligned with purpose. You're becoming a safe place for others without even trying. You're becoming a source of encouragement without intending to. This influence is a mantle placed upon your life, one that has been forming through every season of growth you've endured. There is also a recalibration happening in your expectations. You no longer expect disappointment. You no longer anticipate loss. You no longer brace for heartbreak. Your heart is beginning to believe in good things again. Your spirit is beginning to expect breakthroughs instead of breakdowns. You are beginning to anticipate favor instead of failure. This shift in expectation is crucial. It is preparing your spirit to receive what God has been storing for you. Heaven responds to expectation, not fear. Chosen one, look at the way your priorities have changed. You're drawn to what feeds your soul rather than what flatters your ego. You're investing in your spiritual growth rather than superficial pursuits. You're building habits that strengthen your purpose rather than distract you from it. This internal restructuring is evidence that God has been renewing your mind from the inside out. You're no